Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fashion Coffee Hour. I'm Stanley Smith, and I'm here as always with Marcy Carmack. Today, we're talking about everything red and how Marcy's thesis is that anyone can wear any color as long as it's the right shade. So, we're going to get right into that. The hourglass has been turned over, and our hotline is available for anybody with a fashion emergency. You're welcome to call. Operators are on hand to take your calls. So, let's take a look, Marcy, at this everything red and see if we can make something of this today. So we started off with part of the inspiration for today's talk was a story I'd heard years ago about Jackie Kennedy, and Marcy reminded me that Diana Vreeland hates
Vreeland?
nostalgia. Vreeland?
Vree?
Vreeland. I'm trying to make her into a Dutch lady. Um, hates anything having to do with nostalgia. So I have to say, intuitively, I do kind of hate to lead off with anything Jackie Kennedy's. That does seem very cliche, but the story I heard about this particular red coat that Jackie's wearing in this picture was that she was planning a trip to visit Canada while she was First Lady of the United States, and she chose, actually, she requested that a special coat be made for her so she could match the Canadian Mounties on her visit. So I thought that was kind of a cute story and very evocative of the idea of red as being a symbolic and potent color. And then Marcy, if you can reach that book, we'll show the book real quickly. A regular contributor to Fashion Coffee Hour, Stephanie Leese Enrich, gave me this book about Barney's window display. And in this
Simon Noonan.
Simon Doonan, I can't do better than that. And in this book, there's really this really terrific photograph of window display, Christmas window display of Nancy Reagan in the in the White House looking out. We can't see her expression, but I'm sure she has a forlorn look.
So we don't need this.
We don't need that.
Okay.
But I just wanted to give credit to the book, Nancy looking out at the Capitol, and the idea that Nancy, of course, even though she's probably one of the most maligned people in modern history, deservedly or undeservedly so, we won't get into that debate today. But she's somebody who also is very much associated with red.
Yes,
Marcy.
she is. Yes.
And the idea of red and speaking to red and the different shades of red, again, kind of intuitively, I associate Nancy Reagan with more of the orange shade of red. Do you agree with that, Marcy?
Yeah, an orangey red.
An orangey red. And you mentioned that has to do with picking your right shade has to do with your skin tone, your colorization, and your hair, your whole palette. And you compared it to a painting. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that in the past they've kind of dumbed it down so that people think they can only wear winter or spring, but there's much more available to each person.
And then I know you're using that idea of winter and spring reluctantly because that's attributed to that Color Me Beautiful book.
Mhm.
And you mentioned that when you first became a fashion stylist, that people would run in and inform you what their season was, and you really weren't even aware of what they were talking about.
Well, I became aware very quickly, but I thought it was limiting. But people grabbed onto it, so people were very, they didn't want to let go of fall or spring.
This is another photo of Nancy Reagan looking kind of silly on the porch of the White House. And this is a Valentino suit, I believe. That was one of her major go-to designers at the time.
And Valentino is always known for red.
Good to know. We didn't think we could have a program without about red without mentioning Scarlett O'Hara. O'Hara, right?
Yeah, yeah.
From Gone with the Wind fame, and that was her famous scene where she kind of caused a scandal with the use of red. When she's supposed to be mourning loss of her husband, she shows up for the ball in this red dress.
And more of a burgundy red.
Well, and we're going to see that as kind of a recurring pattern as far as shade, that we've made the general observation that people who are brunette tend to have a darker shade of red or more of a blue, more blue in the red. And people like on the lighter side, like Nancy Reagan, tend to have more of the orange red. Personally, I like the darker shade of red just from a color standpoint, but I do agree that people like Nancy Reagan probably look better in the lighter shade. But back to the White House, the Red Room. Marcy and I were discussing the idea that only in America would they put red furniture in a red room. Marcy thought this looked very English, but I think you pointed out that probably the English wouldn't put red furniture. And speaking of red rooms, we've got Marcy's best friend,
Diana Vreeland.
Diana Vreeland, in this Billy Baldwin designed room.
Diana was a huge proponent of red in every part of her life. Her nails, her lipstick, what she wore, and what she lived in. And it suited her personality. She was very vivacious, very strong-willed, and very opinionated.
And this photograph I read in the credits was by Horst, which after reading that, I guess the pose is very Horst-like. If you look at any photographs of Horst, they're oftentimes ladies lounging on a chase or something evocative of that style. And then this other photograph we have of Diana.
She's got on red boots.
We were trying to show the red boots and the red fingernail polish and the red lipstick. Kate Middleton, various shades of red. Marcy, which ones do you think are more successful and less successful here, and why?
Well, it has something. I mean, I think the least successful is the one on the right, and it has something to do with the dress too. The style of the dress is not crazy about, but I think she looks better in vibrant colors. Although we are going to see her in a subdued burgundy. She looks exquisite. She can wear a lot of styles and a lot of shades of red. And look, you'll see, you know, in the center, she's slightly suntanned. It must be summertime. And in other photos, she's more, you know, pale.
Mm-hmm. So again, it has to do all with your coloring. And then we looked at the idea of the power tie in the 80s, which we still see. A lot of politicians wearing the red tie.
Yes. Yes. And so, yeah, we were trying to find a famous person that wears red ties, and we only came up with one. So we decided to show the red ties.
We try to only have one maligned, hated person per episode, and that Nancy Reagan was a designated maligned, hated person.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, we aren't seeing a lot of men in suits and jackets and ties, but because of the pandemic, but you know, I'd like to see some, and there's nothing like a red tie.
Yeah, but you're right. That's also a topic for another episode. But we do see politicians in the suit and tie, and you're right. That's kind of ironic, isn't it? It's kind of a anachronism. It doesn't seem to really fit with current culture. That's very interesting. The idea of Jackie Kennedy making a point to wear the red coat to visit to Canada was her idea. The point of that story, as it was originally told to me, the idea of, you know, blending and melding with the culture you're in. So it's kind of an interesting topic. I don't really know what the politicians are thinking wearing the suit and tie in the light of everything that's happening in our culture currently. And here again, we are with Kate Middleton.
She really looks great in anything she wears.
But again, do you think the darker person, the brunette, has more options with the shades and the different colors?
Perhaps. I don't like to get too boxed in.
I love to get boxed in, Marcy. I love that. I love boxes within boxes. But we both agreed we like this, right? We thought Kate looked pretty good in this darker shade of red.
Yeah, and that's really not a shade you see too often. You know, the manufacturers and the designers are doing brighter reds. This is a beautiful, beautiful. I don't want to say burgundy completely. It's not dark. It's a rose color. It's beautiful.
Yeah, you're right. It is unusual. We were talking earlier about most people, when they ask what their favorite color is, many people will say red. And I always cringe at that because I associate red with Christmas. And of course, I hate Christmas. And I think it's an overused color for any season or any time.
Stan, I didn't know you hate Christmas.
Yes, I hate Christmas. Yes. I
Oh
want
my
Christmas to just
goodness.
blow up in a big fireball. And then here we have Mick Jagger and Jerry Hall.
Yes, they're very young. Look at them. So young. And Mick is in his red rock and roll jacket.
Yes, but
And
now today we'd call it metrosexual, but you're saying he pulled it off because he was a rock star, right?
yes,
So
yes,
rock star kind of transcends the shade category. Like you can wear anything if you're a rock star.
yes, yes. And we like this red dress. It's not really a red dress. It's got some other colors woven in there, but both of us think that Jerry looks exceptional in this combination of colors.
Yes, but she's wearing her straps down because she just has to get a little sexiness in there, right?
Right.
And this is Queen,
Letizia.
and this she is of Spain, Letizia of Spain.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And this is a Carolina Herrera dress.
Yes. And it looks like two different dresses from one photo to the other, but I think that's just the exposure.
The
So I
lighting.
would think the color's more like the first one.
And Carolina is the designer we looked at early on in Fashion Coffee Hour. You noted,
Yes.
you remember that she had a number of red um, additions in her collection at the time. And actually, we looked at some of her branding. A lot of her branding includes red. But this is a very nice dress, a very nice color. Again, she's darker, and this is actually in this photograph, which I believe is more true because this is more overexposed. It's the darker, it's more blue in the red, right?
Mhm.
That's working with her dark colors. Other royalty on the history of red, Princess Diana.
Princess Diana looked good in everything she wore as well. I was saying that this is from the 80s or something, don't you think? So she's wearing red shoes, which is you're less likely to wear red shoes with your red dress today.
You do a metallic, or what would you do?
Metallic, nude, yeah, one of those.
And also, I guess it's from the 80s, Pretty Woman.
Yes, everyone loves Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman, and here she is in red.
And she was probably kind of light brownish, reddish hair, right? In that character. And then she was wearing the red, which I would think would be kind of an awkward pairing, but she seemed to pull it off, right?
Yeah, yeah, we don't know exactly. I mean, with photography, it's difficult, but yeah, it may not have been the best shade for her, but yeah, she can pull it off.
But almost for this scene and this storyline, it almost would have to have been a red dress, wouldn't it?
Right, but there's so many shades within red.
Yes.
It might have been a slightly different shade.
And here we have Audrey Hepburn.
Don't you just smile when you see her?
Well, I think she's smiling. She actually is wearing the red shoes with the red dress.
Well, well, it changes over the decades, but a gown with red shoes is a little less just doesn't stick out like a short red dress with red shoes.
Oh, interesting. I think she's in the I think she's on the steps of the Louvre with the Nike of Summer Thrice in the backdrop, which is always, it's always important no matter what shade you're wearing to have the right backdrop.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
And it's important to have a coffee hour partner that knows the name of the backdrop.
Marcy, I have my red scarf. Grab my red scarf. That's the only thing red I own. I own one red thing. Thank you, Marcy. This is my one red thing I have, and I only wear it once a year, and I wear it after Christmas time, like after Christmas and after Valentine's Day, when every red holiday is over, then I wear red just before springtime. That's the only time, because otherwise I hate red because, as I mentioned, I hate Christmas. In addition
He
to,
doesn't like his birthday either.
I don't celebrate birthdays. This came up, I don't remember how, I guess because Nora Gaynor had her broken ankle story. So I had to bring up this working girl, because last time anybody made having a broken anything look fashionable was Sigourney Weaver in the film Working Girl. And then I was intrigued with the fact that her character wore red. And I thought that was amusing. So
That is a definite blue red.
it's definite blue red, which seems to work well for the brunette. I think that's one trend we're kind of picking up on. And only because this is the first episode we did about color. We're talking about wardrobing here at the end. I did sneak this in. This is my casual thesis. And Marcy has her thesis about you can wear any color as long as it's the right shade. my thesis is if you're setting up a drama or a pairing of people for a presentation, it's important to think of color. And the formula that I picked up on over the years is I call it the Gilligan's Island formula. Of course, they were all trapped on this island and had no wardrobe changes available to them. But I did think that that created a great vehicle for keeping track of who everybody was, because everybody always wore the same color. And it was always a red, white, and blue combination. So you could keep track of people visually. And I thought that really helped. And I've noticed that in other play productions, musicals, and other films where you will see characters wardrobed throughout the film in either similar color, similar shade. It's a distinct color and shade for the character. Here it is in Gilligan's Island, and then I also saw it again as an example in film 9 to 5 with Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda and Dolly Parton. So just a classic tip, if you're going to have a panel discussion, a group, you might want to coordinate who's wearing what colors. You don't all show up in black. You don't all show up in different shades of red. Have a mismatch of who is who. It'll serve everybody well. And then to end, we'll be heading into the sunset, our red sunset, which shows the many shades of red, which was the theme of today's episode. Marcy, did we have any important callers calling in? Like in general, would we say red is best for day or for evening? Or any special occasion you think red is especially appropriate for or not appropriate for?
I think you can really knock it out of the park with a red gown. That's why we saw a lot of red gowns today. But it equally as impactful as a red dress during the day.
Well, there you go. Fashion tip from everything red, as long as you wear the right shade. Thank you very much, Marcy. As always, join us this evening, Monday evenings at 6 p.m. for Fashion Coffee Hour, and look forward to seeing you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.